It is
He's
an absolute
no longer a gold
miracle.
virgin.
Thanks, dude. Pop my gold cherry.
Yo, what's up, guys? It's finally time, like we've been saying for the last was it few weeks? I don't know. We're talking about Arcane today.
Have we been really talking about it? I feel like we just barely been talking about Arcane.
I think maybe it was last week we were like
Yeah,
talking about we
but
were gonna
whatever.
do
We've
this.
been waiting for it. We've legitimately been waiting for it for a hell of a long time.
I
So
mean, it
I'm
got
stoked.
announced 2 years ago, I think, on their 10-year anniversary, and it was supposed
Yeah,
to come out last
that-
year, but
yeah.
COVID shut down the whole
That
universe.
was
So
kind of the same thing with the Ruin King game, right? That they announced.
I don't even know when that game's supposed to come out.
I think it's supposed to be at the beginning of this next coming year.
I think you're
If I
right.
remember correctly.
It because it's I can if you go on Steam, you can see it on Steam and it says like coming soon.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah.
Shit.
So anyways, before we even say anything else, this is going to be complete spoilers. So obviously, if you have not watched, they've only released 3 episodes so far. If you have not watched this, get off this right now. No, you have no
You know,
business.
I don't have the air horn on my phone, but I totally would have just been a big old air horn. Spoiler alert! But yeah, guys, spoilers are coming. So if you haven't seen episodes 1 through 3, I suggest you turn it off now.
So yep, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Alrighty.
Everybody dies.
Also, we haven't. Tyler and I have not really. We've maybe said like one thing about this. We have not talked about this yet. So we're hoping to get into different opinions, different
Yeah,
theories. Just we want our raw reactions. We haven't discussed anything yet.
at
Um,
all. Not even in
so
the slightest.
so first thing I want to ask you is like overall, what do you think?
Dude, it was really cool. I found myself, and this was a part of a thing that I kept doing that I had to stop myself from doing. Was I'm looking at characters, and I'm like, okay, that's gonna be Warwick.
Mm,
That's Singed. And I keep doing that. I'm like, stop it, stop doing that because you're gonna ruin it for yourself when it's not like that. It's like watching I was watching Titans, and for the whole season, I was waiting for fucking Nightwing, and I was getting really angry that Nightwing wasn't showing up. I'm like, I'm gonna end up doing that to this show, and this show deserves more than that. But I thought it was actually really cool. What kept me grounded is that Lacey doesn't know
mm,
shit about League, and so I had to kind of. It's a good introduction for people that don't know anything. It's just a good show. But obviously, if you know a little bit more about the universe, it makes more sense, and you can kind of pick things up. Um, a little bit of like, okay, I'm gonna pause here, and I'm gonna explain to you what's happening, and now I'm gonna come back here, and I'm gonna hit play, and we're gonna watch this bitch again. And I found it like it kind of pulled me in, similar to What If with Marvel. Animation style's a little bit different, but it still has that 3D over 2D layering. Um, Actually, someone had brought up on the internet. I thought it was wild because I hadn't seen the scene yet. But when they're sliding down the sewer tube, I think it was a sewer tube or the mud tube,
yeah.
it's actually splashing on the camera. I don't know if you
Okay.
noticed that.
Okay.
And I
No.
was like, wow, that's detail. That's someone who put in a shit ton of detail to make this thing right. And I thought that was super cool. And I think the best way to put it is I just appreciated everything they did. I thought it was just awesome.
No. Yeah. I agree. This is because Kyle was over too. So Rand, Kyle, and I were watching this, and as soon as episode 3 finished, I looked at them. I'm like, I'm really glad they didn't release everything right now because I would have fucking finished this series in one night. Like, I
Oh,
want I
absolutely.
want more so badly, but it's fine. Like, I'm down to like so we can do this. Is we watch these and then we have like a week or so to process it, and then we come back and we're ready to fucking go round two. Um, holy, this is
So, quick question.
yeah.
Are they the next episodes? Are they releasing them in acts, or are they going to release them episode per episode per
Act,
episode now?
acts. So we're
Okay.
gonna get another 3 episodes this coming weekend, and then three
Ooh.
more episodes. Total 9 episodes in this season. Yeah. So,
Ooh, I feel like Shaq.
I ain't gonna make a face. I ain't gonna make a face. Um,
No, but I'm honestly I'm really fucking stoked. This year is weird because you don't have Mandalorian to watch. Um, What If already came out. Like right now, there's nothing really new that's on, which means this show has got my full attention, and I'm stoked about it.
This this is hands down out of all League cinematics, whatever shorts you want to say, this is hands down the best thing they've ever done, ever. Period. It's it's so in depth with how you like you literally grow with them and you realize like holy shit they're okay. The other thing I want to point out too is not only is this show insanely violent, it is so fucking dark. There was like just in episode 1 when they get into a little fight with the other like gang or whatever, I was like, oh, okay, there's some blood and stuff going on here. And then like as it gets to episode 2, there's just like people beating the shit out of each other and there's more blood. And then episode 3 is like off the fucking rails. Like,
The intro to episode 1
oh yeah, okay,
is
there you go.
literally Vander beating the shit out of these people on the bridge and out of the enforcers. And actually, I thought that was crazy. And spoiler alert, Vander is going to be Warwick. That he had the gauntlets that he had that were blunt on the front and not knuckles. And I was like, wow, those are very clearly Vi's weapons, but I'd never seen them in that form before. And I thought it was like really friggin' cool. And it kind of caught me off guard. I'm like, he's just beating this shit out of these
Yeah,
people.
so I guess that's a good place to start. I'm curious as to what this, I don't know if we want to call it a war or like ordeal is. What was this like inciting incident where these enforcers were in? So that's the other question is like, is this what split Piltover and Zahn? Is this what caused that? Because like, I just want to know what the fuck is going on. Because obviously,
Riot's done a really good job about not telling us enough about any of this stuff anywhere in the lore, anywhere.
yeah,
That this has been very, I feel like meticulously planned out for a while, where they've been like, hey, we're not going to tell you Jinx's backstory, and we're not going to tell you Vi's backstory, and we're going to insinuate that they're sisters for a very, 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 very long time, even through the release of Jinx, even through 2-3 years after the release of Jinx, that they kind of said, yeah, they're sisters, but maybe they're not. I don't know. I mean, Jinx even has that line, you think I'm crazy, you should see my sister.
that
And
okay.
which is weird because Vi isn't
No,
psycho like
yeah.
she
So
is.
that was one other thing I was gonna bring up. I know they just redid. They gave Caitlyn new voice lines and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Are they gonna do that with Jinx and Vi? Because I know Vi barely has any voice lines as it is, and she has like no other interactions with
No, Vi
people.
just grunts a lot.
She has
Uh,
she has one interaction with Caitlyn, and then one interaction with Jace in her in gameplay like interactions. So yeah, I'm curious if they're gonna do that because like that doesn't make any sense. Like if Vi is definitely not anywhere near crazy as Jinx.
yeah. It's weird, although I will say the one Easter egg, I don't know if it's an Easter egg or if it's a foreshadow, but in the first episode when Powder,
Mm-hmm.
aka Jinx, drops the what looks like a hex core for Victor. I don't know what they're calling that. I don't remember what they're calling them.
Just
But I mean,
crystals, I think. Is
when you look at the actual hex cores from like Legends of Runeterra and even in TFT, those little blue orbs are hex cores. When she drops it and it creates an explosion, I thought to myself, I'm like, well, it would be Jinx that blows up an entire building. That's her friggin' thing. Um, so I thought that was kind of cool. Little Easter egg like that. The other little Easter egg that I thought was really cool, and I don't know if it's an homage or if it's a precursor, but when they give the what are they calling the purple formula?
oh
It's
god.
got a name, and I don't remember what they're calling it.
Oh, you're totally right. I just heard it. I know.
I
Okay.
know, I just heard it, and I was like, "Oh, that's what it's called." I missed that part. Um, when they give it to the rat after they put the cat in the cage, and I was like, "Oh, it's Twitch."
Yeah.
But except for the fact that I think the rat mauled the cat, and Twitch wouldn't maul anything. Twitch would shoot something. So it felt like it's not Twitch, but it is, or maybe experiment one of what could be Twitch later. But I thought that was really cool. I was like, that was one of my favorite parts of that episode.
No, yeah, totally. I think I that would be cool. I think it's more definitely of just like a like oh, if you're a league player, you're gonna oh okay, so that's it. Just like they showed the Jin mask. If you saw that when
Yeah, I
Echo
did see
was,
the Jin mask.
and Leandri's is right
Was
next
that
to it.
Silco's mask?
No,
Because I know, Silk. Well, we don't even know who Jin is.
I don't think. We know Jin is Ionian. He's from Ionia.
Is okay, okay.
So
But yeah,
that's
there was that mask, but then Silco's got that eye,
yeah.
and Jin has like he has a mechanical eye, right?
I think so. Something funky with his eye.
And so I was like, I'm wondering if that's what they're gonna set up to is Silco becomes Jin, but we don't know anything about Silco either. I mean, there's that whole scene at the end of episode 3, or I guess the climax of episode 3, where Silco's saying that basically that Vander betrayed him and did all this, and they're showing that flashback that doesn't make any sense
Yeah, I'm waiting. I
yet.
want to know more about that because if they
Yeah,
were
that's coming. Oh, I guarantee that's coming.
if they were obviously they're both fighting for Zahn, why were they fighting each other unless Silco betrayed them? Or because it's I mean it's revealed that Vander is like he's like, I don't want to say peacekeeper, but like after that whole ordeal, after he like quote we'll call it adopting Vi and Powder and all the other kids and stuff. I mean he literally puts his gloves up, and you know, and his whole
Yeah,
thing is keeping his people and the enforcers like kind of at bay. He has deals with them. He he's just like he's the guy. I don't want to say
he's a father figure for everybody in Zon. I feel
he runs
like
well, he runs the underworld. He's the guy.
yeah, he is basically like I wouldn't call him the monarch, but like
Well, everyone knows who he is, and
yeah,
everyone like looks for him.
the unvoted basically leader of the area, even though he's technically not the leader. Like there isn't a leader of Zon,
Yeah.
but if there were, he would be the one. Um,
Speaking of, I noticed they one thing that I was very interested. They don't actually say Zahn until episode 3, when him and
right.
Silco, when he's all hulked out and stuff.
Yeah.
They that's the only time they say Zahn. He even like I think it's when he stabs him. Before I think it's before he becomes like fucking hulked up or whatever.
Yeah.
But he stabs him and he leans in and is like something for Zahn, like he whispers it. So and then the whole other time they were calling it either the lanes or the underworld. So I'm curious if Zahn is like not a title yet, because none of the I don't think any of the enforcers ever mentioned Zahn as a name. I thought
Well,
that was pretty interesting.
I will say like the one of the big pitfalls I've found in this show so far, and this is just like a small little nitpick, is that like the way they introduce stuff is so like glossed over. Like it took me. Did they say Silco's name in episode 1? I don't think they say it till episode 2.
Right. They don't. No, they don't.
But like catching people's names was weird. They don't mention Singed by name, but in the credits, the guy who is making the purple potions is Singed.
Yes.
And the only way I noticed was in the credit. I was like, oh, maybe that's Singed, but I don't know. He's not talking and he's not doing anything. And then in the credits of that episode at the end, he's literally the last character on the list. And it said Singed, and it had the voice actor. And I was like,
Yeah,
I guess that is Singed.
there's no one else in that episode that would be Singed except for that
Yeah,
dude.
exactly. And then, of course, fitting at the end of, was it the end of episode 3 when it explodes and he gets burned up by his own stuff? And I was like,
Singed.
now he's gonna come out, and if he doesn't ask someone how about a drink, I might lose my shit.
I
Like
think
one of the things that's gonna be hard with this show is there's gonna be a lot of fan service. There has to be a lot of fan service. I mean, I feel like to be really successful, you need to have that little bit like Jinx saying, "You think I'm crazy? You should see my sister." Should be in the show at some point. Vi doesn't really have too many taglines other than punch first, ask questions while punching is the only one I know.
yeah.
And I don't play Vi, so that says a lot. And then of course Echo. If Echo doesn't say do over after getting caught or something, I don't know.
One quick thing on Echo, and I don't know if you call it, you're probably gonna think I'm stupid for this, but like it's just maybe one nitpick that I have. I don't think this is like as close to a perfect show so far as I've ever of anything I've ever watched. I just found it so like, I don't want to say like it kind of took me out of it, because okay, obviously the champion is Echo, but like we're in Benzo's shop and he just turns to the little kid and says, "Hey, Echo." I'm just like, is his real name Echo? It just felt really, really weird to me. Like,
Really?
I don't know. I'm weird. It's a weird thing I'm trying to explain, but it's like obviously the other reveal is Vi's name is Violet, so there's that,
Yeah,
and
that was a
then
big reveal.
Jinx is Powder. It's like Echo just sounded weird when I see like a little kid. Obviously, it's going to be the same character, but it's like Echo. I'm like, oh, it just sounded weird to me. I think it's just me. I'm just weird, but it kind of took me out. I'm like, oh wait, are we on Summoner's Rift? Like,
I
Echo, really?
I guess I get it, but like, there's also everyone's it's on, so everyone's kind of got well, it's the league universe. Everyone's kind of got a weird name, right? You've got just a few that aren't that weird. Like Graves is an actual name. It's a common last name. Katarina is an actual name. LeBlanc is an actual name. But like, yeah, you run across the Echoes and the Maokais and like Karma wouldn't be a name you'd expect someone to have outside of League of Legends. So I can see where you're coming from. Like Echo is one of those ones you're like, that's
It just took me out of
not
it. I
really a
don't
name,
know.
and it's not a code name either. Like
Yeah,
Powder is a code
see,
name because Powder. I think it's because Powder likes building bombs, albeit they don't work. But I think that's why they call her Powder.
I wonder if they'll
But then
ever.
Milo's not a code name, and the other one is it Krager? I think it's Krager.
Yeah, it's Clagger. It's
Clagger.
CL or something. It's yeah. Um,
Yeah,
I don't. It just
that's what I'm
just
saying. The names and like getting these fucking names is the only fault I have really when in the show is that some of the names are off the wall, and I feel like it was kind of similar in Game of Thrones when I first started watching Game of Thrones. For like the first whole season, I'm like, who is who? Like I know who these people are, I recognize their faces, but I don't know what your name is because Stannis Baratheon's a weird name. Like I don't know.
I did see like a lot of people, because obviously as soon as it was done, I went to the subreddit. I was seeing what other people's opinions were, and people are fucking geniuses and they watch these shows with subtitles, and if you watch subtitles it has their names.
Oh, yeah.
I was confused because I swear people said that like when at the end of episode 1 with the rat Silco, it said when singed, like he has like two lines. I think people were saying that like it popped up as singed in a quote or whatever, so I was like, there was that. um but yeah, I mean, luckily there's not too many names. I mean, you got Mike, Milo, Clogger, Vander, Vi, Powder, and that's just the underworld too. Um, one other thing I wanted to mention, like I said about Zon, like they don't mention the name. I understand, and like I'm trying to figure out how these two cities are set, because obviously Zon is a little bit lower, but from when they like in episode 1 when they're getting chased by the enforcers, they hop a bridge, and then obviously they take an elevator eventually, but like it looks like they're just opposite each other rather than like,
Yeah,
because
that's sort of like
I thought they were
I know when
literally
they say
stacked,
Undercity, it sounds to me like they're literally under the city,
but it's
like
definitely not.
in where the sewers were or something that were rebuilt, almost like the Ninja Turtles that live underneath the city. Like I don't know, I don't have
Yeah,
a good.
I thought it was like Zon was, or like Piltover was right here, and then you go under the street and it's right there, but it's not there because there's all the other scene where Vi and Powder are on the rooftop and she's telling her about the is it like a stuffed bunny or whatever, and then
Yeah,
they're looking at Piltover. So
yeah.
I was like, okay, so that's interesting. That kind of changed like my view on how these two cities are like connected. So then there's the canal, and I think that's a thing that's gonna be important because I think it was made specifically to divide both areas.
Yeah.
Um, I guess let's see, where are we at right now too? So yeah, it was fucking violent, dude.
It was super violent.
I kept like stopping and looking at Kyle and Ray. I'm like, wow, this is fucking brutal, dude. Like, especially at the end of episode
Dude,
3,
when he like stabs him in the back and everything, I was like, dude,
that whole end
that's
scene,
the second time. Like I was like, wait, what?
right? That end scene where Jinx throws the monkey bomb with the crystal in it and it explodes, and Clogger just fucking like dies instantly, and then Milo gets impaled by that and gets crushed.
Dude,
That
that was
was
like
fucking.
that was pretty violent. I was like, damn, that almost like
It was hard to watch. I'm like, oh my
I,
god,
I
dude! Like,
didn't I wouldn't say I teared up, but I was like, damn, that shit was real. Like, you know what I mean?
dude, that was oh my god. Yeah, it was. I'm just getting goosebumps just thinking about it. Like that whole scene where they're trying to get Vander out of the chair and Vi puts on those fucking like janky ass gauntlets and beats the
Yeah.
shit out of everybody. It's just like,
Yeah, dude, that was such a good choreographed scene.
oh
It
my
was an
god.
awesome set piece. Um,
I can't wait for her to get the real gauntlets. Like,
it
how the
was yeah, it kind of blew me away. I was like, holy crap! Like,
and
how
she's
does
like,
it?
she's what, like, is she supposed to be 16? She's just a young teenager, I think. She's
Yeah,
very
yeah, I don't even
young.
know if she's 16 years old to be honest with you, and I don't know how old that makes Jinx, but I would assume she's like 10.
She's yeah, extremely young. Um,
Um,
I think
but
maybe
let's you want to go over some story points so we can kind of see where we're looking at, like what we think that's going to build up to, because I think we've kind of hit like our reaction.
yeah.
Um,
No, okay, yeah.
and we just kind of start, let's follow the story a little bit. So obviously, if you've watched it, you know what happens. There's a job, and Vi and her gang um,
They get a
set up
tip.
a yeah, they get a
They get a
tip.
tip from Little Man, which is Echo,
Yeah,
and
they haven't said yet. Yeah, so they get a tip. There's a what do you got? I guess an apartment or an
like a it's like a
office.
penthouse, like a
Yeah, penthouse. That's what it is. A penthouse at the Academy in Piltover, and there's some good stuff to steal. And they get in there, and most of the kids are stealing just crap, like just hot
yeah,
garbage crap. And Powder stumbles across these blue orbs, which you later find out are
hex,
not stable at
yeah,
all. And it blows through the building. Jace tries to, or someone tries to come in while they're in there. Basically, the whole entirety of episode 1 is told from Vi and Jinx's perspective, and that side of like, I guess, the Zahn perspective.
mm,
And all these things happen. It kind of starts to characterize Vander and Benzo a little bit. Mostly Vi and Jinx. They do talk a little bit about their other crew members, Milo and
Clogger, yeah,
Cragger, or whatever his name is.
yeah.
Um, Obviously, they're not that important because they don't make it through the first 3 episodes.
Let me
But
argue really quick about
yes.
their importance. You notice the goggles that Clogger has are the ones that Vi wears in her splash art.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, Vi has the goggles on the top of her head.
Uh,
Those are 100% the same ones that he wears.
Pull up the
And
splash art.
she
Oh, you're
obviously
right.
at the end of the episode she doesn't pick them up, but there's for sure those are
She'll
for
get
sure
there.
the same thing.
She'll
So
definitely get there.
obviously these people are important to her. Obviously Powder is the most important person to her because she's always defending her. She's always telling her like she doesn't have that high confidence in what she does, but Vi is like literally there pushing her and like caring for her like 200% of the way. And then it's kind of also reflected from like how Vander views the kids. I think it's like reflected a little bit like that. And then obviously Vi snaps at the end of that at episode 3 because Jinx fucking killed everybody. Wasn't her? It wasn't on purpose, but like Vi specifically told her not to come. Jinx like Powder has a mini meltdown, thinks she can help, inadvertently ends up killing her friends, and I guess potentially you could say killed Vander. But God,
Yeah.
that
So
was
yeah. Okay. So episode 1 is the heist. Basically, they take the stuff, they bring it back. They get caught. Episode 2 is the heist happening from the Piltover side. So how they're receiving what's happening.
yeah. We can get into that in a
Introduces
second.
the enforcers. Introduces the council, I think it's called. With Dingalinger and Mel, who I don't know who Mel is, but she reminds me of like a Karmasena mix. I don't know. No, I'm not gonna go there. They introduce Jace for sure. They go through all the stuff with Jace, and then actually I thought was one of the coolest parts is they bring in a literal summoner when they do that flashback.
So is that what you think that is?
Oh, it's a summoner for
I was
sure. With all the runes
curious.
around,
Okay,
that to me, that's using recall. It's
yeah,
blue. He creates a little teleport. I'm like, he's recalling them.
I wasn't too sure about what that person or who that person was that ends up giving him the Hextech crystals. I was like, what is this, like fucking Rise or something?
Oh,
Like
some people have said Rise. I just think it's a summoner.
Summoner
But
is that's a very
Rise
interesting.
does use runes. I mean,
My only other like I'm
but
just
Rise doesn't
playing.
wear a cloak like that. Like that hooded
No, for
cloak, that's
sure.
the summoner look for sure. When you
I'm
look at like the
just
summoner's cup and stuff.
I'm just to play devil's advocate. I
Yeah.
know I don't know how is if this if Arcane is gonna be like the actual canon for lore, but I know a few years ago, Riot like completely just got rid of summoners as like can or as lore. Like they're not a thing anymore in
Yeah.
lore.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. No, that's a really good. I didn't even think about that. So that's cool. That's
I mean, that was my first thing. I've been seeing videos be like, oh, that's Rise. I'm like, I just don't think
no,
that's
it's
Rise.
not. I don't think it's Rise.
He's got a staff.
That's the only thing I
Um,
could think of when it
and he's
came
got
to.
it literally has the runes. And uh, when you control your character in League of Legends, if you click a skill that's a skill shot, or you click something that's got like an AOE move or area of effect or whatever, you can literally see the rune drawings around the outside of the field, the aiming field.
Yeah.
Which is what I was like, okay, that's definitely got to be a summoner. And then he keeps seeing the runes in episode 3. Is it episode 3 where he finally kind of harnesses the magic, or is that episode 2?
I think that's the end of episode 2.
Yeah, where they
They're in
Victor and
Heimerdinger's room.
yeah, yeah, and then you see the runes floating around them, and I'm like, okay, so they've now harnessed the power of the summoners, which means the summoners are no longer necessary for this world. They were just there to push Jace in the right direction. At least that's my take on it.
Interesting. I think well obviously his whole thing is to create magic. Well, the other thing that was very interesting is magic exists, but Piltover does like
Bandit.
Bandit. Heimerdinger has that small story where he talks about when magic was used, and I don't know if he mentioned that like it destroyed or killed a lot of his race. So I don't know if that means a lot of Yordles died. There was like a quick flashback with like a picture or whatever, and that's why it's banned. And he's scared like no one can control it. So obviously my opinion, they see it as some sort of energy source, and eventually it's definitely what it's going to become because it powers a lot of these fucking champions items.
Nuclear energy. Like
Um,
it's like a parallel to the real world is, oh, this is our nuclear energy. Can we control this? Is this safe? Is this a good idea? Heimerdinger doesn't think so, but Mel says, oh, why
she's
can't I?
curious about it, and I'm
Which is
curious.
why it kind of another real world parallel is the fact that she kind of reminds me a little bit of like Elon Musk in the fact that and the fact she has this arrogance about her, and literally everyone disagrees with what she's doing. And this is regardless of how you feel about Elon Musk as the person, but I think we can all agree he has an aura of arrogance. But then he's also doing something that's possibly working, maybe, and that's the kind of the same thing I get from Mel is that like, how do I need to make a splash, and I know I'm the richest one here, but I need to do something to really cement my name. Enter SpaceX. Um,
I'm
uh,
curious what her full agenda is.
yeah, me too. Me too.
I'm
I'm
also,
very
I
curious.
guess, yeah, we can talk about. Let's talk about episode 2 with Jace and everybody. That was like, so like when episode 1 was happening, I was like, okay, is this? I mean, it's either gonna be Jace or one of those people, and it turns out it's Jace. Caitlyn's with him. It doesn't show Caitlyn that much. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, I felt like it was really weird that she was there a lot.
I think
Um,
they're just both attending the same academy and they're just friends
yeah, I just thought it was like she seemed kind of pointless. I mean,
for right
the
now.
only point that she served in the first 3 episodes was to exile Jace pretty much from the academy, or excommunicate him, or whatever word you want to use that says you're not allowed back, and like be like one of the people that he's close with. So I mean, obviously you get the feeling that they're close,
Mhm.
but beyond that, she doesn't offer anything to the first act of the story.
She,
And I feel like she could be left out of the first act. I just thought that was,
oh
like,
no,
extra fan service.
for sure. I mean, well, we know that she's obviously going to become very important. Quick other thing, I don't know if you noticed this, but her mom is 100% the actual voice actress of Caitlyn. It sounded
Oh, is it
the voice sounded obviously she's younger in these first few
the
episodes,
original voice
but
actress or
the
the
actual, I don't know if it's probably the current one, but like if you
Okay,
listen to how her mom talked, it's literally Caitlyn's voice.
that's awesome.
So I was like, okay, I hear that. Um, so yeah, Jace, the way Piltover conducted their, like, I guess we'll call it a trial, was very interesting. Where the whole room like got shut and it got dark. I'm like, what is this? Like, why are they doing this like in secret like this? This is really, for a city that's the city of progress. They're really like, hey, we're gonna, be in the dark about this, how we conduct this, and that was very interesting.
It's kinda like, progress at what cost? If that makes sense. Like, they do a lot of stuff, but the cost is you have the Zonian life, the whole other side of the city pretty much, living in shambles, living in rundown, leftover crap, scraping together money. So it's like you have all the 1%ers over here and all the 99%ers over there. And there's obviously, I'm sure, some sort of class warfare because they're looked down upon. And I don't know, I just take it as like, what's the cost? We're doing this progress, but what is it that we are sacrificing um, for doing that? And you can tell there's a lot of resentment from the enforcers. They resent the Zonians, and then the Zonians just resent all the Piltovians because they feel like they're just treated like trash, except for Vander, which they later find out has got some sort of deal, um, which I'm sure they will explain later. And I'm actually kind of excited to find out what's going on there because I have a feeling that's gonna loop back to Silco's whole arc and that flashback of why he tried to drown Silco.
Yeah, I'm just, it's just for like,
It's just so many questions too. It's like,
yeah, and no, they're good questions. They're leaving me with good questions because like it would be kind of a bummer to just know everything right off the bat, and then like, what am I
yeah,
waiting for new episodes? Um, but yeah, it's very interesting because like one side, Piltover thinks Zon is just like a dumpster and shit, but then you look at the from the Zon perspectives, like, yeah, sure, there's it's just all about drug trade and like all this shit, but there's some kind of order to it, at least through Vander's eyes. um and then you look at Piltover, who's supposed to be like progressive and stuff, but then they like Jace is discovering a new means of, well, I don't want to call it new because magic exists, but he's able to not only create it but potentially control it. And they just totally turn their heads and they're like, no, we won't want to do this, but they're the city of progress, and that just sounds very contradictory. um but yeah, back to the,
I was gonna say I have a really good point
yeah,
about kind of what you're talking about the order, and you're gonna laugh, but it is literally Lion King.
oh my god.
Vander is Mufasa, Jinx is Simba, and Silco is Scar with a big old scar over his eye.
But would she be Simba, even though she's gonna be corrupted and turned evil?
It- um, I mean, maybe she's not Simba, but I mean,
I
you
know,
get the gist. Between the girls, they are an amalgamation of Simba. It's just two characters instead of one. But I just thought about that as you're explaining. I'm like, holy shit! Silco is scarred. Vander's definitely Mufasa. I mean, he basically dies, and Vi and Jinx lose their shit about it. You know what I mean?
mhm.
Except for the fact that he gets to come back. But like that whole beginning part is like Silco wants to take what Vander's been too afraid to take or whatever. He wants to to run the city. So I was like, oh wow. Kind of thinking about it, I'm like, it's weird that everything's also green.
Yeah, he just wants to. He thinks Vander is just too much of a pushover now, and he's just
Yep.
getting sick of the enforcers actually coming down and just beating on people, and he wants to fucking murder them all.
He's been scheming with the dirtiest of the dirty in the Undercity.
That was I just wanted to go back to Jace really quick. I feel like there's more stuff to
Yeah.
talk about with Zahn so far, but the right after the trial, so the original was him being like exiled completely from Piltover, but then they changed it where he just gets kicked out of the academy. I think that's what happens, right? He can't learn anymore.
Yeah, so they're originally um
We're gonna like banish him completely.
yeah, I think so. And then
Donger like is like, yo, no.
Dogger said, just don't talk about magic and I'll make sure you're fine. You won't even get, well, he wasn't even gonna get kicked out of the academy if he didn't talk about magic. They just would have told him, they would have pretty much demoted him
Yeah.
to something lesser. And then he's like, fuck it, I got magic. And I was like, oh God, oh, you just goofed, Jace. What are you doing?
Dude,
And
this scene right after that where he goes back to his penthouse and he's standing on the fucking edge and he's about to jump off and kill himself.
yeah,
That was I was like,
dark.
"Oh my god." And then
It was very
Victor,
dark.
we haven't even talked about Victor. I'm very interested to see if we're going to see Victor's like evolution. We'll call it evolution just cuz if he's going to
Yeah,
turn
that's
into
what he is. Yeah, the glorious evolution.
it's very I mean it's so they together they create this and they work together. I wonder if at this time, because I think he's labeled as Heimerdinger's like assistant at the time, right now,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
and I'm curious if he has been scheming his own thing, and then he's like, "Oh, this kid Jace is onto something. Maybe I can use him." Or I don't.
It's hard to tell because we're speculating based on the lore that we know, right?
Yeah,
We know Victor's lore. And so we're speculating, okay, when does he turn? Or when does that gear shift? And so yeah, you do kind of look at him suspiciously. And it doesn't help that he has it's like a Germanic Russian accent. It's not really one or the other. It's somewhere in between.
yeah,
And because in the United States that is seen as a vilified accent in the movies, obviously big bad USSR, big bad Nazi Germany. So you throw in those kind of accents, and you're
suspicious.
gearing people. You're gearing people say, hey, this isn't a good person, which that's regardless of what we think as people, but that's the trope of the movie, right? Or the trope of the show. So understanding that, picking up on that, it's almost like they're kind of hinting he might be evil, but he's got he is also seems pretty genuine in terms of like okay, yeah, he wants to steal what's in Dinger's office, but he's also enamored with those with what Jace was working with. So it's not like he wants to steal it for the sake of stealing. He's like, no, I need to expand my knowledge. And Jace was working on this. I wonder if there's a way I can expand my knowledge. And that's what it seems to me is he's got a thirst for being better and being more evolved, and not to make the pun, but also to make the pun. It's gearing his character, but from a very, I feel like, an innocent place.
I, okay, I agree. I think at the moment his intentions are good to help Jace.
Yes, his intentions are pure.
To speculate, and I like speculating, what I feel like is going to happen, maybe we might not necessarily see him become Victor. I have a feeling that perhaps Jace is going to become very arrogant and take 100% like credit for what's going on. And this is probably going to piss Victor off. Maybe something happens like I don't want to say I don't know if he's burned or whatever, but he becomes fully mechanical. Like if something's gonna like physically happen to his body, and he's gonna adopt that like full machine mentality, and then resent Jace because I think I just see Jace as a fucking arrogant person. Like he's like, oh, I'm the best kind of thing going on.
If I had to guess, I think, and this is just my pure speculation, is Jace uses one of the orbs in a hammer,
Well, you notice
Um,
they said his family, so like
the hammer
yeah,
makers.
they're hammer makers. So I was like,
Yeah, yeah.
okay, cool.
So he's gonna build a hammer and use this thing. I think this particular season of it is gonna end with Jace building the hammer and becoming Jace that we know. Um, and I think what's gonna happen is Victor is gonna see that he built a hammer and he's gonna basically build prototype Victor. That's my thought, and I think from that point something's gonna happen and it's gonna corrupt him
Okay.
and turn into creator Victor and turn. Is he Noxian at that point? Does he join Noxus or
I
is
don't think
he?
so.
I don't remember what happens when he kind of flips from being the good noodle to a bad noodle.
I think he's just his own.
It's
He
his
has
own
his
thing.
own like warpath of turning everything into machines. Um, another little like side, I don't want to say Easter egg, but like tip of the hat. And I saw this. I didn't think of this. I saw this on Reddit. Is when they're talking about how to when they're making the thing to harness the crystal, and he's like, "What do we do?" And he says, let's crank it up." And I was like, "Oh,
Oh
okay, it's a
yeah, yeah,
blitz
yeah,
crank.
yeah.
That's a blitz crank." Like, not
That's cool. I didn't even think about that. That's
because
cool. You're right.
Victor is the one that creates blitzcrank.
Yeah, he builds Blitzcrank when he's still good, right?
I don't know much about blitzcrank's lore.
Well, okay, here I have Victor's lore pulled up.
Let's get the
He
cliff notes.
attends College of Techmetallurgy, led the team that constructed a scientific breakthrough that he expected to vault him to the top of his profession. Unfortunately, his triumph was usurped by Professor Stanwyck, who stole credit for developing Blitzcrank's sentience and later used Victor's research to revive Blitzcrank. I think I don't know. It says template.ci, so whatever pictures there is missing.
I wonder if
This is Victor's appeals for justice fell on deaf ears, and he sank deep into depression, and that's where he kind of flips. So,
they're gonna
um,
swap it to put Jace in that position.
probably I don't even know. Actually, no, they didn't. I think they mentioned Professor Stanwyck.
Maybe they did.
I think I remember hearing Professor
That does
Stanwyck
kind of sound familiar.
in as one of the maybe one of the council members. Is he the robot council member?
Ooh, maybe.
Oh, I gotta search that. I didn't even think about that, and I probably should have looked at some of this lore too, just to see how it fits. But um,
I mean, regardless, it's very interesting. I mean, it's weird too. Like we know the game decently well, and we're like, oh, okay, we know what he eventually becomes. It's just a matter of time to when he snaps. Um,
yeah,
just okay. So that was entirely episode 2. Episode 3 was interesting. If we're moving on to that, if that's okay,
yeah,
like in particular,
totally cool with that.
because I think is it episode 2 ends with Vander and Vi on the bridge talking, and I totally thought, and it kind of like throws you for a loop, which is fucking sick. Because okay, back in episode 1, we haven't even talked about this part 2, and this was interesting. I think her name is Grayson, which is the older enforcer, the one that sits down
Yeah,
with Vander and
yeah, yeah.
talks about the deal or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, we need Piltover wants someone behind bars," and then she hands him whatever that thing is. I don't know what it is, like a flare or
It's the
something.
capsule, honestly.
Whatever, something. She said she can retrieve it, like if you use
it,
it.
it it reminded me of working at Costco when you put the money in the thing and it shoots up to the office. It's just an old school style of sending
A message or something.
messages through a pipeline.
So I believe episode 2 ends, and it has Vander and Vi on the bridge, and they're talking, and I'm like, is this dude really gonna ask Vi to like turn herself in? That's what it felt like to me. Or
That's what
he,
I thought.
and
That's what
then
I thought because he locked her in the room or whatever, and she came in, and then he's like, okay, and he kind of starts walking that way, and then he asks for one last drink or something like that.
mhm.
And then he turns himself, and I was like, oh, okay, you threw me, you kind of caught me sleeping on it, thinking
Well,
you were gonna go right to Vi.
even before that, like and then it's revealed that Vi was gonna do it herself because she was, waiting in that one room, and then
Yeah,
it kept panning to the door like the enforcers were coming, and then it turns out it's yeah, because they're at their house, or is that their house? It turns out it's Vander and Benzo that are there and then she was like, "What are you doing?" Like, it was a cool like whole total swap thing, And then it's revealed even more that Silco had his own deal going on with, I think his name is Marcus, the other enforcer. Um, and then the other kid that got fucking juiced up just fucking murders everyone. I at first thought that was going to be Warwick, but then obviously the more you think about it, the more you read about it, like Vander is like 99% going to be Warwick.
Yeah.
Just because there's a few lines where in episode 1 they refer to him as the Hound of the Underworld, and then they also Silco refers to him as Piltover's lapdog. And then obviously in Warwick's lore, he was a gangster that ruled the lanes, and now he was created by Singe. So I'm assuming Singe is probably going to pick up his body. I also am curious if Singe is going to be like associated with Silco, because as far as he knows, I'm sure he thinks Singe is dead from the explosion.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting to see.
Well, then he's gonna emerge all wrapped in bandages, all veined out and everything too.
So I'm curious I hope they bring him back, or they like a little side thing. Maybe, I mean, there's just so much they could tell. I don't know if they can fit all of that into 9 episodes. So and then one more thing about the fucking those 2 enforcers, the Grayson, that bitch gave me super strong Camille vibes. I was like, is this Camille or something? Because her voice is kind of like proper like that, and she's a little bit older. The only thing that's kind of weird is obviously Camille uses Hextech power to stay alive, but she's like 80 years old, and I don't think there's gonna be that big of a jump in time coming up. So
you know what? I hadn't even thought about Camille.
There was a slight reference to her when they're at the trial of Jace. I believe they mention Pharos, and Pharos is her clan, her house. Camille Pharos is what she leads.
Oh, okay.
There's a slight reference to that, so I would be cool.
Did you see when they're in episode 1 when they're ravaging the office? I think Milo picks up a little horse, and I was like, dude, that's Rel's fucking horse.
Oh no, I did not see that.
Did you see that? I could be wrong because it's kind of obscured as he grabs it, but it looked like a little toy version of Rel's horse. It was all gold, of course, instead of that silvery white color that she has. But I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But I don't think she's a part of that. But it just looked like a little here's a little Easter egg, a little toy thing here. And I was like, that's super freaking cool looking. I was trying to just find if it had anything to do or show anything else about Silco or any thoughts, but I'm not seeing anything that anybody's got out there.
It's cool. It's a mystery. He's a new character. I'm curious.
I think it's really cool, actually.
So something must have happened where he absolutely. It's probably that maybe it was that incident in the beginning where the enforcers are just killing people. Maybe that's what incited him to resent Piltover so much.
Yeah.
But now he's trying to create an army of like super monsters. I was like, oh fuck, is Mundo gonna show up? Because there's the purple kind of remind me of Mundo. I'm like, okay, no.
I know when Vander was all purpled out, I'm like, he looks more like Mundo than I think the other guy's name was Deckard.
Yeah, I'd have to. I've been reading a lot of comments, and I need to go back, and I was gonna rewatch episode 3. There is a slight, or if there's people saying there's a small sound cue of the Warwick blood hunt sound when like in game you hear the like it's not his howl. There's like a sound in the background that like goes not like a dong or something, but it's like doom when you're getting hunted.
Oh yeah.
That sound
when it first pops up and you're playing Warwick and you kind of hear like, oh,
that
that's
sound
supposed to alert you that there's somebody. Yeah.
That sound comes up when he is all juiced up and stuff. So
I gotta read back into Warwick's lore because I think it changed when they did the whole visual update, right?
They do. That was when did Warwick get? Was it like season 7? There's I don't think it was 8. I think it was 7.
It might have been 8. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it was that long ago, to be honest with you, but maybe it was that long ago.
It's probably hella fucking long ago.
I don't know.
I did look at a few of, and again, people have been posting this. There are also evidence that this is Vander. Vander will become Warwick with interactions. He has an interaction with Vi. 2 interactions that say one, Zahn needed you, and two, who taught you how to punch. So there's that. And then he has a quick interaction with Jinx saying you were there that night. Um, and then another one that people have been posting and has probably nothing to do with this is there's a Fiddlesticks interaction with Jinx that says all your fault, all your fault. And it's true. It's her fault. She's the one that fucked everything up.
Yeah, it's all her fault. Yeah.
Dude, that fucking end where she like comes out and she's like I helped, and Vi like realizes it was her, and then she hits Jinx, and like
Dude,
the animation with her crying, even the voice acting with
was really
it's
impressive.
I was like, oh my god, this is so fucking real. Like I felt like I was gonna cry. It's so fucking sad to see these two sisters that like obviously Vi just loves her, but she's just like her family is dead.
Yeah.
Because of her little sister. And then of course it's at the very end. Silco approaches her. It looks like he's about to kill her, and then he's like, "Hold on, like this little girl." I people were saying that maybe he like realized that he sees himself in Jinx or in Powder, like kind of like a.
I can see that. I can see that because
like,
Vi is very much like Vander.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna pick you up and help you, and um I'm gonna assume, again, speculation, that I don't know. I wonder if they're gonna give Jinx this serum, because in the game and in her splash art, her eyes are purple. If you've ever noticed that, they're purplish pinkish. They're not blue. Look at
I
Jinx's
don't think I ever noticed that.
Look at Jinx's splash art. They're
Hold up
purple.
right now.
So, and I think that's when she goes crazy.
Oh yeah, they're like
They're not blue.
yeah.
They're purplish. So I don't know if they're
bloodshot but purple.
I don't know if they're gonna give her a little bit
But
of
she
serum.
doesn't have the purple veins and stuff, and she's not hulked up.
Right. So maybe they like, as obviously I'm pretty sure there's a time jump that's gonna happen in the second act.
Yeah, I agree.
Because Jinx is already gonna be older, and Vi, I'm assuming that was the other thing I was confused. Why did that fucking dude, like chloroformed her? He said he was saving her. That first of all, that guy's a fucking piece of shit. Marcus.
That was Marcus, right?
Yeah, that guy's a piece of shit. So I'm gonna assume that like he's gonna obviously he was paid off by Silco to like have all that happen. He was like, oh wait, they weren't supposed to die, blah blah blah. I'm gonna guess that he knocked Vi out. He's gonna take Vi back to Piltover. He's gonna blame everything on Vi. And from the short trailers that we've seen, Vi is in prison, and then I think that's when she meets Caitlyn. Jinx is probably gonna be going crazy and destroying shit. I also have a speculation that Jinx kills Caitlyn's parents, because I don't know what's gonna give Caitlyn the
vendetta
to like work towards this.
That's a good point I hadn't thought about. That's actually a really good point.
So I think Jinx is gonna go completely fucking bananas and start blowing up things. I'm really curious, and we can start like winding down because I think we're almost pretty much we thoroughly went through this.
Yeah.
I'm curious to how the end is gonna be. I don't want to speculate too much because that if it happens or if it doesn't happen, it could be a real bummer. But like, Vi's title is the Piltover Enforcer. And then Caitlyn is the sheriff. As far as I know right now, there isn't a sheriff. They're just a bunch of enforcers. So I wonder if at the end of this, there's going to be a complete change in all the I don't want to say like police like regiment. It's going to be way
a societal change.
It's going to be big. I think it's going to be very big. Obviously Vi is going to like redeem herself, and obviously
become a cop with Caitlyn, and
she's gonna
I still thoroughly enjoy the fact that in their splash art, Jinx is in the background in the Officer Vi splash art.
It's the normal splash art.
She's also in the Officer. She's in the Officer Vi splash art too in the donut.
Is she? She's in the donut.
Yeah. She's sitting in the donut. Here, I want to link it to you.
I'm looking up right now.
Yeah, she's literally sitting in the donut with Zap. It's her. I was trying to find her original splash art, and I don't know if I could find her original
Oh, okay, I see you in the back. For some reason, I thought you were talking about the donut that Vi was holding, but no, okay,
Oh,
I could see
yeah,
her
she's in the
chilling.
yeah, she's in the back.
But
I
the normal Vi splash art is Vi and Jinx's are exactly the same, except Jinx's is a completely just destroyed Vi's background. They're the same area,
yeah,
but
yeah,
one's just demolished. Okay,
yeah.
cool. Okay, that's a nice. I didn't know about that either. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna assume this is gonna go to where Vi does everything in her power to save, try to protect Jinx, but Jinx is just gonna go off the fucking rails because we all know that Jinx is just fucking crazy. Um, it's. I feel like I'm gonna cry eventually. It's gonna be really upsetting.
They've done a really good job, and I don't know if I was listening to someone do a review who's not in the League of Legends space, and he says, "Dude, the ending kind of made me like want to blubber up. Like I just felt so terrible." And I was like, "Well, that's kind of impressive because like here's someone who knows literally nothing about this game
Yeah,
and is like understanding like, oh, this is meaningful. Like this means something." And so I found that rather impressive that they're able to invoke emotion like that to people that don't even understand the game or have any connection to the game. I found that really impressive. Like extremely impressive because that's something that's really hard to do. It takes a lot of setup for that, and I felt like they put in the due diligence between setting up the relationship between Vi and Jinx. Um, in order for it to be fractured as hard as it becomes. Um, so I really do commend. I guess I don't know who the writers were, but I guess Riot in general. I know Riot obviously isn't the entire writing team, but I do really commend the writers for that. I think that was really, really, really well done.
yeah, and just and then if you know the characters enough, it's even that more impactful.
Yeah,
It's like God, dude. Everyone is just and when they were doing the premiere on the Riot Twitch account or whatever, it's everyone's like, oh yeah, they had the poll going on, like, are you Team Vi or Team Jinx? And like, of course, everyone's gonna pick Jinx because everyone loves Jinx, but like, she fucking look what she did.
yeah,
Vi out here just trying to do the best thing she can and protect her little sister, and everyone's shitting on her. Fuck
and
y'all.
and wow, poor Jinx was just trying to protect her older
Well,
sister,
she's just
and
they're just kids. They're just kids.
yeah, that's exactly it. Is. They're just kids, and they're doing stuff that's too serious for their age, and they're accidentally fucking it up left and right, and especially Jinx, and like the fact that they said you're a Jinx. I was like, oh wow,
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay, there you go.
that's where that comes from.
It almost makes the name more like, oh, like I'm not gonna every time if I see a Jinx or I play as Jinx, I'm gonna be like, oh god, now I know why she's called Jinx. Like she's a fuck up. She's
And they watch any bronze player and fuck it up. Hey, had to bring in low elo to that, huh?
of course, yeah. Where would the podcast be without that?
Exactly. Well,
I think
I
that's
think
yeah, yeah. You got
I
anything
think we've
else
I know I was gonna say I think we've
covered?
philo- philosophized enough about the show and speculated enough about where it's heading, um, to the point that they were gonna start belaboring the points that we are talking about.
Mephisto is
I
somehow
think
gonna end up in this show.
this is probably a good spot to bookmark where we're at. Um, as far as a question goes this week, uh, I want to know first off. My big question is: do you think Silco becomes Jin? Because I probably not, but I think that might be one of my cooler speculations or one of my more favorite speculations. That's probably kind of far out there. Um, but what did you think about the first act? Did it have you like really sad at the end? Were you like us, like kind of like, damn, that fucking sucks?
Fucked me
Like
up.
that's um and I think it really sucks too if you've grown up with siblings. Like if you don't have siblings, I think it doesn't hit the same. But I think if you've had siblings, you're kind of like, damn, that was fucking cold. You know what I mean? And I think most of us who have had siblings have been there before. Like, you know, they're hanging around, then like, especially if you're the younger one and accidentally screwed something up or whatever, and
Yeah.
someone's like, "You're just a fucking jinx." I'm like, "What?" That kind of brought me back to some old times of hanging out with my brothers and stuff like that. So I think that had a different level of impact. So yeah, I mean, what do you guys? What did you guys think of the episode as a whole? I mean, were you a fan? Are you hooked? Are you like, I'll watch the next episode because I like League, or were you like, dude, I need this next episode and this next act like today, yesterday. I need it yesterday.
On top of that, I'll also throw a poll in, and we'll do a very generic: Are you Team Vi or Team Jinx?
Yeah,
I know
and
what I'm voting.
I'm Team Jinx.
Oh,
Team
you're
Jinx. We need
bitch.
to make some more rockets.
Oh my god. All right, guys, that's gonna do it up. Next week we will have the patch, and then we'll also have
Act
another
two.
Act 2 rundown. And so get excited. And
Guys,
no puns
and
intended.
I want to throw in a quick apology. Um, we really want to do a VOD review of the game where I actually attained gold,
Oh, he got gold. I
but
fucking forgot.
the client
Took a
the
shit.
client took a shit,
Yep.
and the client wouldn't let me download the game to watch it. So unfortunately, we're fucked.
It's gone.
But
He
good
got
news is I
gold.
got gold.
It's a miracle. First time.
It is
He's
an
no
absolute
longer a gold
miracle.
virgin.
Thanks, dude. Pop my gold cherry. On that note, we are going to see you guys next week. Peace.
Later, guys.